How's everybody doing? My name's Mike and we got Mr. Iroh with us today. So what we're going to talk about is getting your dog out of the crate calmly. Also, like the dog whining in the crate, pretty much like just how to handle any nonsense in the crate. So this dog in the home, he would make a lot of noise in the crate. So what happens with generally with most owners with their dog who has a super excited dog in the crate is that say like the dog, when I was at this dog's home, I'm over, I come in the door, the dog's in the crate in the other room, which is good, and then the dog is like just making a bunch of noise. It's like sometimes there's barking, whining, it's like moving around. There's all kinds of like stuff. Like who knows what's happening in the crate? You just hear like banging everywhere, in the crate. So he's not relaxed at all. So like this, this is better, more like this. But so what happens is the dog's like banging around in the crate, and the owner never reaches this point. Most owners, the dog never gets to a point where he's like relaxed. Then let the dog out of the crate. What happens is the dog's making all that noise, still anxious, whining, and doing all those things that are like really annoying. Then the dog gets let out of the crate. So if I come over and the dog whines for 15-20 minutes in the crate and then gets let out still in that same mind frame, the dog now believes, oh, all I have to do is act up for 15 minutes, then that's how I get out of here. If we practice only letting the dog out when he's this way, then he's going to be a much calmer dog in the house. The second thing that happens when the dog's going crazy and the dog eventually gets out of the crate, almost 9 times out of 10 with the general owner, the door opens and the dog is allowed out, meaning there is no leash on the dog. In training, a big difference is before this dog ever hits this area, the dog gets a the dog gets a collar on him before he comes out of his crate. So if you allow the dog to act crazy in the crate and then open the door and just let the dog out like a wild animal, that's kind of how they're going to act. So what we do, we practice keeping them calm in the crate like this, means we wait the appropriate amount of time. And also, let me get back to when the dog comes out of the crate with us, the big difference is the collar goes on, then the dog comes out calmly. There's a big difference between the dog like anxious in the crate, opening the door, and the dog just flying out of the crate and having free roaming of the house and kind of allowed to do whatever he wants. Because if you don't have a leash on him, you don't have any control. With us, the dog must be like this. We open the door. When the dog is calm, we put the collar on him. Then we have him in a heel position right away. So one of the things is like, well, how do I get the dog to stop making noise? How do I get the dog to act like this in the crate? Well, that is a whole picture you have to create. So you have to do obedience training and a bunch of other things to also get this. But when we obedience train along with that, this is how I keep this dog quiet in this crate. This is just a shake can. You've seen it many times, probably on my channel. I use it all the time with dogs. It's just a plastic bottle with 10 pennies in it. I will literally just chuck this against the crate. If I'm sitting on my couch and the dog's whining, looking at me, making noise, I will chuck that against the crate. Same thing with this. They call this a bonker. It's a rolled up towel. Some trainers will use it to pop the dog in the head. We don't do that. It's not that I'm really against that. I just think it gets abused like way too easily by the owner if they're frustrated. And we've seen other trainers on YouTube really like whack the dog hard on the head with it, and that is not the way it should be used. So we don't teach anybody to hit the dog on the head with this, even to tap them. We don't teach them to do that. We only do it against the crate. So both of these tools should never hit the dog. They would only hit the outside of the crate. This is particularly nice because it's soft, so I can chuck it from a far distance, and if I hit something else besides the crate, it's not going to hurt anything. But yeah, I would chuck this from a distance. That way I can correct the dog from a distance as well. And just the noise of this hitting the crate will actually disrupt the whining and will deter him from whining and making noise like that. So we use those tools. If that doesn't work, we use an actual leash that I thread through the crate. I'll use a long line if it's really extreme, the dog keeps whining, and we just tug the leash. So we can also just tap the crate. That's a punishment, like if I just were to smack the crate. Again, not out of anger, it's to make noise to disrupt the dog. The dog's like whining, making noise, being really annoying, right? So we do something back that kind of makes the dog feel uncomfortable the way the dog's making us feel. Okay, so all this is just to talk about keeping the dog calm in the crate. In this crate, this is a threshold, so this is going to be the same thing for the front door, your back door, your car, any doorway your dog is going through. They must enter in a calm way. So all these things we talk about creates this picture. Okay, so like I said before, the dog will be anxious in the crate, moving around, the door comes open, the dog just flies out, is allowed to kind of do whatever they want. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate now that I see the dog has laid down and relaxed. He doesn't have to necessarily be laying down for me to open the door and put the crate on, but like when I first wake up, I will not come in this room unless he's laying down and relaxing. But when I come in, it's okay for him to get up. You'll go ahead and see now. I'm going to demonstrate how I put the collar on and stuff like that. He'll probably get up once he sees me do that. But again, we don't let him get too excited. So I'll go ahead and explain as we go. So my normal day is, I wake up, I come to the room, I see the dog's laying in there. I'm going to go ahead and grab his collar, his leash. And just because I grab these things doesn't mean the dog should go crazy. You see how he popped right into a sit position. He did that because I'm attaching the leash now because I use a carabiner. It's just going to be easier for me to do it like this. You see how he moved, but the position he moved into was a sit position because he's not allowed out of that crate unless he's sitting like that. In fact, for most dogs, I won't even open the crate door unless they're sitting. I don't tell them to sit though. That's another big mistake people make. They try to force the dog, sit, like they want this, so they tell them to do it. I don't tell the dog, I wait. I wait for the dog to do it, then we continue the process so the dog knows that's what I want from him. So we'll go ahead and show you how we do it. So I come up to the crate, I got my leash, I got my collar, I look at the dog, I see, okay, the dog's sitting, alright, he's relaxed. Yeah, and some dogs can be sitting, but they can still be very excited. I can see he's relaxed, Of course, he's going to be a little excited because he knows he's going to be coming out of his crate, but you can see, alright, he's sitting. Now, if he tried to come out, I would shut this door as well. I would just shut this door right on him. So then when I open the door all the way, I use my body to kind of block. And if he gets up, I'll stop. So right here, put the leash around him. You see how he kind of like is offering his head for me because we do this every day. Every single day, the same exact way. So it's predictable for him. So he knows exactly what I want. There's no day that I waver. And as I'm doing this and like putting his collar on him and fixing it, this is when I kind of enjoy the moment. Like, yeah, this is a beautiful dog, man. He's doing exactly what I want to do, what I want him to do. And that's what I'm thinking in my head. So I'm projecting this positive, like, good feeling. Like, yeah, this is great, man. You're sitting there beautifully. I got your collar on you. You're looking good. We're about to go outside and do our thing. Like, that's what your dog needs to feel. Not frustration, not anxiety, not rushing. So once I see the dog, I stand up. Just because I stand up and I move the leash doesn't mean he should be moving around. I want to make sure he's okay. And once I see, okay, he's sitting, then I will invite him out. And I'll say, okay, heel. And he comes out of the crate. See how he stretches? That's because he's relaxed. Good job, buddy. Okay, sit. Good boy. And that's how the dog needs to come out of the crate. We can't just let them out wildly. We got to use a leash. We got to create structure for them, and we got to teach them obedience. Heel.